Masks, mats and blend modes are a great way to take a busy graphic and blend all the different elements together. Now this graphic was created in a later chapter in our audio chapter, but I thought it was a perfect example of something we could use to blend different blend modes together. Let's load up a RAM preview and check it out. I just have to warn you that there's audio on the track, so watch your speaker levels. Right, here we go. Okay. Well, as I looked at the scene, I could see that the front word and our pulsing audio line here are completely fighting with each other. I think it's sort of a fun look, but we could definitely draw a little more contrast between the two. So let's make sure we have our blend modes active. I'm going to go to the lower left corner of my interface and click the second button in. This will make sure that my blend modes are up in the screen. Now it's funny that I said screen, because if you look at the blend modes, that's what our top 4 layers are set to, a screen blend mode. That's probably why they're all so bright. Now, if we turn the visibility off on layer 1 and layer 2, you can see it actually took 2 layers to create the brightness of that word. Now the audio pulse is what I want to blend into the scene. So let's go to layer 3 and turn that visibility off and on. Okay, now we know exactly what we're dealing with. I want to create a mask to create darkness, kind of in the center here. So I'll go up to my ellipse tool in my toolbar. You can click Q and press it numerous times on the keyboard until you've selected the ellipse tool to get it. Just make sure when you start dragging that you have layer 3 selected. So I'm going to click and drag to draw a mask around our waveform. With the mask applied, I want to invert the mask because I want the center to actually be a darker place. So let's change the pull down on the mask from add to subtract. Now notice when I did subtract, the mask in essence kind of went away. If I click inverted, nope. This is one of those instances where it might be better to actually apply the mask after the waveform. Let's see if I can click and drag down here, and it's not like I can change the hierarchy in terms of how this renders. What I need to do is actually pre-compose. I'm going to click on the mask and just press Command X to cut the mask off the layer. Now we can go up under Layer and go down to choose Pre-compose. And we can move all the attributes into a new comp and click OK. And as long as we don't click our continuously rasterize button or collapse transform button right here, we should be able to easily mask this off now. Since I already have the mask selected on my toolbar, I'm going to go and click and drag on the canvas again. And this time if we go to the pull down next to our mask, we can change it to subtract and it'll actually work the way that I was expecting. If you press MM on your keyboard rapidly, you'll open up a mask options. Now I can click and drag on the feather options here to soften the transition across my map. Now this is looking relatively close to what I was hoping, but I need to blend this background glowing a little bit more. Select our audio pulse glow. If you don't have the blend modes open, make sure you do, and then let's click here under screen. Notice blend modes are divided up into groups. Rather than focusing on what each individual blend mode does, I try and just keep track of the individual groups. So the first group will create dissolves, and I definitely want to explore that here in a second. The next group creates darkness. Now the group after that creates lightness, so I like to think these darken and then these add. Now the other group compares contrast between the layers, and then we have difference and hue, color, luminosity, and then the stencil layers. I just encourage you now to click through each of the layers to see if there's some kind of blend that you like. For example, if I choose subtract for this, now I'm subtracting that blur out of the background and it just doesn't look quite right. Whereas if I chose add, it's really going to kind of try and blend to give this nice pop in the background. I want to change things up drastically, so I'm going to click on the pull down and choose Dancing Dissolve. When we do that, it's going to scatter all of the different elements into a dissolve. Now I'd like to add a glow to this, so I'm going to go up under Effect and choose Stylize and choose Glow. But notice when I press the glow, it's just scattering the glow effect. So it's like the effect is processed first and then the blend mode is processed next. I'm just going to press Command Z to undo. So in order to change the order of processes, we need to select layer 4 and go up under Layer and choose Pre-Compose. And this time we definitely want to make sure to move all the attributes into the new comp. And when we click OK, now we can go back under our effect options and choose Glow. This will add nice glow back into our scattered graphic. If I wanted to make that pop a little more, I could adjust some of the glow settings, but I sort of like where it's at. Now we could add a blend mode to this to blend it back into the background. So let's click on our blend mode and see if we can color burn it back into the background. And that's definitely added a little bit more burn into the image. So I like what I have as we scrub down the timeline. Now there's one last thing we need to look at, maybe adjusting, and that's the track matte. So if we have our background video composition here, let's turn the visibility off and on. I'd like to actually have this background blend with our blurry scatteredness right above it. So let's keep our background layer exactly where it is. But let's go over to its track matte. Let's change that mode to alpha matte. This is going to look at the alpha channel of the layer above it and use that to cut the matte. So if we turn on our alpha channel for our composition, you can see all that we have actually in the scene is our scattered graphic and our text. The background is being completely cut out by this alpha operation. I'm going to go back here and go to RGB, just so I can blend the background in a little bit. I'm going to duplicate the background layer by pressing Command D, and I'll drag that to the bottom of the layer hierarchy and change its track matte to no track matte. And then we can just press T to open the opacity and bring its luminance down. So now we've got this kind of haunting look, where we have our glow kind of going across the screen, and we have this sort of scattered look blending into the background along with our alpha track matte. So when it comes to being able to draw a separation between your different graphic elements, definitely look at maybe using masks, and then you could explore some blend modes, and of course pre-composing. You get the idea. Feel free to adjust to your own personal taste. Just remember there is an order of operation to how you apply things. As we leave, I'm going to load up a round preview of our project. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Kind of exciting. I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks.